My name is Swami Atmananda, and it's with great love and respect that I welcome you with all my heart. And welcoming another person with love is one of the highest forms of worship, because truly the divine dwells there more so than any outward place. And it looks like we have about 50-some people here today. It's a big group, and it's a wonderful opportunity for upliftment when people come together in a spiritual community like this. So I feel very honored to be here today. I thought we would start off with a grounding meditation, just to allow us to become present. So if you can take a moment to turn your attention inward, you can close your eyes. This will just take a few minutes. Certainly, the body and the senses, even the emotions, are always present. And when we have a feeling, it's always in the present moment. But it's usually the mind that takes us into the past and into the future and away from that groundedness of presence. And so meditation is really an attempt to just let the mind settle into the present moment. So if you'll take a few moments to contemplate this, to turn your attention inward, use the same awareness that we use in the outer world to look into your inner world. Close your eyes and listen to the sounds around you. Hear them as though they were a piece of music, without identifying any of them or giving any of those sounds meaning. Just pure sound. Be present to the bodily sensations of sitting. Be present to the temperature in the room. Be present to your breath going in and coming out. Be present to the thoughts playing in your mind. Be present to your mood and the feelings that arise in this moment. Are you carrying anything? Are you worried about anyone? What feeling arises in this moment? Is it happiness? Sadness? Conflict? Calm? Anger? Contentment? Just allow yourself to be present to whatever feeling is arising for you in this moment. When you've identified that feeling, you can give it a name. Just honor it. Just be present with it. We start where we're at, and we'll start with that feeling. You can make a statement, I'm so-and-so, and I feel this way or that way. I dedicate myself to speaking truth with kindness. I dedicate myself to helping others know the true self. I dedicate myself to knowing the true self. And I continuously rededicate myself to the essence of my spiritual journey. I honor everything that arises as the play of consciousness. And I carefully watch the movement of spiritual energy within and without. I seek the highest wisdom in each situation. If you'll gradually bring your awareness back to this outer space and to the community. I thought I'd try something a little maybe unique or different in this group today. And that is in a sense to get a pulse, get a feeling of the pulse of the community. And so in that spirit, I'd like to ask anyone if they had something arise in them during the grounding meditation that they would like to share with the group. Whether it's gratitude, fear, and what's presenting for you in the present moment. And I know it's a large group, so it's going to be hard to let everybody get involved, but if the spirit moves you to share, then that'll help stimulate some dialogue. And so feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. I know this might be a challenge for the technicians today. Mary Alice.
I could speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had to, so calm and open at the end of it that I had to step back to what came up because that meditation was such a lovely process. I definitely felt like, what would you say, like a autumn leaf on the breeze kind of feel about going around obstacles and just feeling like totally natural about what was coming up and then letting it go. That's what it felt like without bringing up specifics. So thanks for that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mary Alice. Yeah, there's a lot of things appearing in our outer world that we have to navigate in addition to our inner world navigation. Anybody else? Just asking, what's, in lieu of anything arising during the meditation, what's been arising in your inner world? How is the divine presenting to you? What messages are you receiving? What lessons, life lessons are you learning?
So immediately when I learned that you were going to be answering these deeper questions, I thought that this is the question I would ask. Why COVID? Why now? Why a worldwide disaster? I'm sure you've thought about this. I just want you to share your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Well, you would ask the hardest question. And I certainly I want to attempt to speak for the divine. But yeah, we've all contemplated this. And, it takes a bit to step back and be present with what's arising, in the outer world that we have very, very little control over. Most of our inner world experience, we have some control, but in the outer world, it's beyond our sphere of influence, and certainly the COVID virus. But as spiritual people, we've learned these lessons that oftentimes breakthroughs and triumph come through struggle. And And some of the hardest lessons are learned through this tapasya. See, tapasya is a Sanskrit word for fire or friction. And so the universe is dynamic, and it's the nature of the mind to ascribe positive and negative to these outer world influences. So for me to have a perspective of why COVID and why now, I've had to step back. And so as far as addressing why now, there's no other time but now. COVID wouldn't be effective in the past or the future. It has to be now. So get that out of the way.
Evan, I'm going to talk.
Hmm?
Hi, this is Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Good morning. I think what is coming up is a chance to be in between this dunya, this world, and the next. I think we have that big opportunity now. Instead of just living in our bodies all the time and running around, we have to stay put. And so then our mind has to ascend and come back to some places that were before. And it's important to keep in mind remembrance. We want to remember where we came from and where we're going back to. And this is giving us all a chance, including COVID itself, the virus itself. We're all one. And so we want to stay centered and know that everything is perfect and unfolding perfectly. Thank you.
Love that. Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, accept it as it is. Delith or Annie, were you going next?
Hi, I'm a different Annie.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. This is my first time coming to one of these services, so I'm very excited to be joining. Something that surfaced for me, and kind of on the same theme of how this pandemic has provided, almost forced a bit of introspection for a lot of people, myself included. I think for me in my journey, it's felt, the thing that really came up for me, and I'm struggling to sit with it, is just frustration. Both externally at variables that we can't control, and being someone who is new to a active practice of meditation. I'm trying very hard, but having some trouble to get over that hurdle of self-compassion when other things come up that are not part of one's awareness. So I agree in the sense that this pandemic is like, why now? And in the sense of it being that it's almost the world being like, hey, you kind of need to understand what's going on inside before you're able to know how you would prefer or how you would like to interact with the outside world. When for a very long time I've been raised in a way of react to the outside world how you think the outside world would want it, and that's not necessarily good for any parties involved. But I guess I'm interested. I would love to hear other people's how people get over that hurdle of within a meditation being able to, I don't know, not necessarily be one's own like cheerleader, but be able to still see that light and be compassionate with starting a new journey. But yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
had to.
thank you, Annie. That's beautiful. And you did really well sharing your inner world and your feelings. So maybe some advice would be always to be gentle with yourself. Befriend your own mind. The compassion you want, give to yourself, and you'll be fine. I'm really happy to see that you're establishing yourself in a meditation practice, and all good things will come, and you'll keep your heart open, and really allow yourself to honor and worship your own divinity within you. God dwells within you as you, and you're very good, very special, and so everything, for maybe some seasoned people, we see you as having everything you need to succeed, and we trust that, and we're just asking you to trust that in yourself. So thank you for sharing. Why now? Why COVID? So I'm seeing some messages in chat from people. So I guess there's another dialogue going on in there, and that's great. I just remind everyone that this isn't the first time humanity's experienced a pandemic, maybe the first time we've experienced it personally. And so it's a lot different than just reading about it in a history book. It's hitting us directly. And certainly it's an opportunity to turn within, to slow down, to be still, and to do some of that spiritual work that the outer world has pulled us away from. Okay, I see 3 raised hands, but I'm not quite sure how to call on them. Bob? Whoops.
I was thinking for some strange reason about, as you were leading the meditation, about the death of my parents and how long ago that was.
Okay.
Bob, you're muted.
Yeah, Bob, you can unmute.
I think I did that.
And maybe turn your volume
I know
down.
what happened is I hit my video instead of. So while you were leading the meditation, what I did was.
What came
Bob,
up?
you muted yourself again.
There
Am I
you go.
on now?
Yep.
Sorry. As I was thinking about the meditation, or as I was in the meditation, somehow I was thinking about the death of my parents. It was more than 20 years ago. I'm not sure how I would connect that to what you were leading. It's what passed through my mind. But in response to the question that Annie raised, I had this kind of unusual thought about why now, why the pandemic. I'll speak for myself, but I think there were a lot of us who were fearful about what would arise if Trump was elected for another 4 years. I think many of us are aware that the climate crisis looms, and it's overdue time for us to do something about it. And if there were 4 more years of indifference from the presidency and the administration in our country, I think it would have been valuable time lost. So it's a very weird thought, but I think the inability of Trump to handle or do anything effective with the whole pandemic was a way that sort of sealed his fate. I think people that would have considered giving him 4 more years saw how inept he was in handling that and got him out of the picture. So it's strange how, in some ways, I think the virus paved the way for us to take more seriously the climate issues that are looming and that we need not waste any more time in dealing with. So, sure, but I think that might have been a partial answer to why now.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. It's interesting to see that relationship between the virus and Trump's re-election, and how, in some ways, the virus was working against him. And maybe that will have benefit with our outlook for the future. So I think maybe Janet is next. You can unmute yourself, Janet, and speak up.
I think there were some other people in front of me, but I'll take this opportunity to build on what Bob and you just said. And then there's this divine synchronization of not just the election and the administrative, the government fiasco that we've been observing and having to deal with, but the Black Lives Matter and the climate. But since we've been told to stay home, we are given the invitation to be present, to stay centered. You know, at times I thought powerless. You know, I mean, I'm thinking that a lot of us are powerless to take on these particular challenges that are so huge, but where the power lies is in the moment. So this practice of meditation, you know, residing in what is without judgment, you know, these are all powerful steps that are going to be forming our, you know, response as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so interesting how so many chaotic, you know, traumatic things have occurred in America at once.
That's right. Thank you, Janet. But yeah, we don't want to underplay that it's more than COVID, it's more than the election. There is so much going on, and we're living it. And so how do we best bring our highest level of speech to that dilemma? And so we know that through meditation, prayer, and contemplation, that it helps us ground and allows us to come from our highest place in response to these things. Lindsay, it's nice to see you there, dear.
Can I help with calling on people?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you,
Okay,
dear.
we have Light, who's been trying to get to speak for a while, so I wanted to give her a chance, and then maybe we could have Lindsay after that, and then
Thanks,
we'll see.
Layla.
No problem. Light, go ahead. Oh, I hope she's still there.
Meditation, I was definitely kind of just worrying about all the things I have and want to do. Most of it is like making gifts for the holidays, and I was just going through in my head about just this restlessness of wanting to do the good things. And when the question about, you know, why now came up, my first instinct was that it's a call to action, like was first brought up by Bob and then echoed, is that we've had all of these things brought to our attention. We've been able to like have so much social media that's telling us about the issues. We've had so many inequities brought up to us. And those of us who are lucky enough to have more time on our hands now have time to do more with our hands. And so it can be very easy to accept it and appreciate all the things that it allows us to do, all the work it allows us to do inside. But I think it's a major injustice and just a missed opportunity if we don't take that inside work to contribute to the change outside, to deal with all the issues that the pandemic and the riots and our current like political situation has led us to. So this came about, in my opinion, to get us to change and to break us out of normalcy.
Yeah, and I'm hearing you say to inform our outer world decisions with our inner wisdom. Yeah, thanks, Light.
Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi everybody, and hi Swami. It's great to see you.
Yes.
I have two thoughts. One is I just was noticing, you know, and appreciating that you invited us to have a discussion and share what came up for us in the meditation, and I was appreciating how people are speaking to what others have raised. And it reminded me of this little sweet quote that a friend once shared with me in the form of a refrigerator magnet. And it says, "A friend knows the song in my heart and sings it to me when I forget the words."
Yeah.
Isn't that so sweet? And that's what we do for that's what we do for each other. A friend
That's right.
knows the song in my heart and sings it to me when I forget the words.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's what we do here. And so thank you for inviting that, all of us, to be a part of this. And then I wanted to speak to what the second Annie raised, this question about how to have compassion for ourselves when, in meditation. Because for me, the self-compassion as part of my meditation practice has become like the secret sauce. I mean, it is the thing that helps me to stay open and get unstuck. And there's a practice in the mindfulness movement, mindful self-compassion is now a thing, and there's research behind it. And one of the tools that is shared in that tradition, is basically just bringing meditation to the secular world, is to, when you are noticing, frustration and self-criticism, and you're having trouble being compassionate with yourself, to imagine a small child that you care for, or a pet, or someone, but a human might be easier, because imagine that someone that you love very dearly is having the same frustration with themselves. And then what kind of love and care and compassion and words of love and wisdom and encouragement would you share with that small, vulnerable, struggling one? And open your heart and your imagination to that one. And then, just breathing with that. And then inviting that to yourself. And just noticing that you are just as good. So maybe that would be something to experiment with.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lindsay. So, the secret sauce of compassion.
We have Don who would like to speak.
Very good. Welcome, Don.
Good morning. Thank you for your talk and your thoughts. The thing that came to me when we were in that little meditation is, well, it's very simple, but everything that is worthwhile is based in love. And I'm thinking of using that as a filter for sort of all the experiences that whirl around, and go, okay, is this based in love? And just, let that be the filter. And I think a lot of jazz can be sorted through, not to disparage jazz, but a lot of jazz can be sorted through with a filter that concise even. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Don.
Is there anybody else? I'm not.
How, yeah. Oh,
Now we
Ann,
have Anne Marie.
Are we still, okay, good, we're still unmuted. What I was thinking when we were asking about COVID, that the last time the whole world has experienced the same thing was probably World War II. And right now, we're all experiencing the same thing. We're all dealing with, the same issues, and nobody is exempt from it. When we see our world leaders contact COVID, it's a really reality check. And for me, it's like, this is a problem that we have to solve for everyone. We can't just take care of me. Because we've seen that happen here in the United States, where we had this horrible outbreak in New York City, and they did such a great job, and then the rest of the country, didn't pay attention, and then we see hotspots cropping up here and there. So we really have to, the whole world has to come together and take care of each other. And so that's where we're at right now. We really have to figure out how to take care of each other.
yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I think Janet had another. Okay.
I did, sorry for butting in again, but through all these wonderful comments, it made me think of how we are stuck, how we get stuck in some of our mental responses to the world and all these circumstances. Anne Marie brought up how, well, individuals did in New York and, caring for one another. But what if people are so wounded and they've got, protections and survival things so activated that they are trying to take care of themselves just to survive, or to, get through childhood trauma or poverty? And what is your thought about how much healing we have to do within ourselves as a precursor to, giving forth, into the flow of solutions and problem solving and community mindedness?
Yeah. Boy, Janet, that's a tough one. I think we're always in a, I don't know if I call it a battle, but a challenge to balance our inner and outer worlds. And, I can only fall back on the teachings that, you can't pour from an empty cup. This idea of putting the oxygen mask on ourselves first. These are all notions of building our own inner strength, and then using that inner voice and the strength of that inner voice, that connection with the divine, to inform our outer activities. But I think truly it all comes from within. And some others have pointed out, I think Light and some others today, that this is an opportunity to nurture those inner gifts and to slow down enough to really consider the truth of our speech. And not just the truth, but the kindness, that we inform our outer movements and our outer activities with head and heart, with truth and kindness, and maybe a bit of a caution that don't make the other our enemy. Don't make the other our enemy. I think Don had pointed out, had spoke to something to this effect, that it's through love that we're going to get through this. And so it takes that externally considering the other as ourselves, owning this as humanity. And so I'll just share that. And Janet, you raised some really interesting and challenging questions, but thank you.
I wonder if we can end with Kayla. Oh, no, we have Kayla and Dawn. Maybe those could be our last two.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much for everyone's contribution today. And I apologize that my video is way off. I don't know how to fix it. But anyway, two thoughts occurred to me when that excellent question was asked, why COVID, why now? The first thought was, and why is it affecting the entire world? Well, the entire world has been moving in the wrong direction for so long that this was an opportunity for the whole world to wake up and say, wait a minute, what are we doing? Do we really want corporate profits and racism and genderism and all these isms that do not serve us? Or do we need to make a better choice so that we can preserve all of life on this planet? And the other thought that occurred to me is, why the isolation? Why is most of the world isolated so that each individual has to be with himself, herself so intensely? And I think it's because we have to stop looking for leaders to solve our problems. We have to stand up with our own voices and speak our truth, because we have solutions inside of us. We can't abdicate our own authority and our own action to leaders. Look what happened the last 4 years to the leader in Washington. He did not lead us very well. No leader is perfect. But we, all of us coming together with our hearts and our minds, we can solve the problems that we face. And we can use that to move mankind into the direction that will be sustainable for all life. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Janet had said in the comments, it's also a unifying problem that leads us to know that we are all experiencing the same thing. So that was a good point, interesting point. I'm sorry, Layla, go ahead, dear.
I say we have Dawn. I think Dawn is our last one.
Okay.
Thank you, Swami, for all that you've said so far.
Welcome, Dawn. Thank you.
I really love that we've had the chance to lay this question out to all of us. This is a community that communicates about many things, and it's a rolling conversation. And you've facilitated, I think, probably in a tremendous way that we haven't had a chance to before. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thanks.
No more questions.
Yeah, it was a bit of an experiment. And, you know, you guys are so often good at listening to your guest speakers, but I questioned, how often are you listened to? So I wanted to give you all a chance. I know it's tough with 50 people in the audience, but I want to thank everyone for their contributions. And for me, I've gotten a sense of what's arising for the community, where we're at, what's the vibration. And I hope all of you have had a chance to feel connected with the community in that way through the similar struggles that we all share. So I'm not sure. I think we're probably we're past time for the next event, but I don't know where things go from here. But I just thank you, and I have so much love and appreciation for all of you and the work that you do. And you know, we'll get through this together. Thank you.